Okay, so we'll take a quick look at some opening strategies that I like to play with. E4, I pretty much always open with E4. If partner opens with E5, then I really like this opening because it's so exciting. It's the King's Gambit. There's always going to be, exciting, dynamic, crazy games that will come out of this. A lot of the time, white loses, but it's always fun. And when white wins, it's always really thrilling. So yeah, I really like the King's Gambit, still do. Although there's lots of issues with it, and I've lost many games with it. Anyway, if Black accepts the Gambit, then the main attack that Black has got is this line there, so you've always got to keep your eye on that. So the way to protect against it, and there's a few different really creative, interesting ways. I don't know them all, but there's some really fun ways that you can look up, especially in modern games. Like there's been some really cool, interesting modern games. I watched one recently, I found it hard but it was just some crazy stuff. Just bringing it out right away. So you see White's idea is all on this. There, okay? That's White's concept. So if you're going to pull any of that off, it's going to be pretty dramatic. Yeah, I mean, this is not really the best way to play this opening, but this is the way that I always play it. Except for recently I changed it up a little bit. So it just holds with that there. So then the best response for Black is either this, because now, can you see the threat? The threat is that, so if White does this, for example, then you keep pushing the pawn, you knock that knight out of the way, so the knight's going to maybe go there to attack that. And then there's all sorts of stuff that you can do here with Black, but now that that's moved, the defender's moved now, so the queen can come out. Now, White can't do very much at all, okay? So if you do that, and that, and that, you lose your rook. And then shortly after you lose that, and then shortly after that you lose your rook. So that's the King's Gambit now. So that's why it's kind of really, Black has got lots of chances in the King's Gambit. But yeah, White doesn't have to play that way. White can actually do this. This is insane. Sacrificing the knight, and then bringing the queen out. Now that's under attack. How's Black going to defend it? Hard to defend. Okay, maybe there, I suppose, and then we're going to maybe there. Now we're already doubling, and then what's he going to do? Let's say he comes up there and take it. Now he comes out, take, and now you've got a checkmate threat there, and it's, yeah, you see? So there's lots of potential. The idea behind the King's Gambit is that White develops his pieces really quickly, whereas Black's pieces are still kind of behind. Yeah, so it's always a very exciting opening. There's always lots of craziness that happens on the board. If you face it, then yeah, that's Black's best response. Now the interesting White's best response, I think, is this. And the interesting thing about that is that the pawn is not doing this. That's not the point. The pawn is taking the space from the queen. So now that rook is guarding h4. So that queen can't come to h4. So therefore, Black is no longer, you can't do that anymore. You can if you want, whatever, but it's not going to have the effect that you want it to have. Alright, so you got that, and you got that. Now White's got an attack there. That's coming soon. So is that, and so is that, and so is this. Okay, so by moving these pawns forward, Black's got some things that he's got to think about and worry about. for the next few moves. Alright, so that's kind of interesting. This is the King's Gambit accepted. Now, black doesn't have to accept the gambit, and possibly the most interesting line for black to play, I think, is this. This is called the Falconbeer counter gambit, where black gambits the e-pawn. So now white can take that pawn, and then black is there, and now black is guarding that, preventing that defender from coming out there, and so now black's got a threat. You know, yeah, it can be blocked, but you know, it's a reasonable threat. Yeah, I mean, maybe he doesn't need to. Let's see what Stockfish does in this situation. I hate facing that Falconbeer counter gambit when I'm white. I still don't know what to do with it. I should, because I've faced it many times and I've tried to find out many times, but it's a little bit Stockfish wants to do. Yeah, so Stockfish take it. But you see black's actually in the lead right now. So let's get this into the game. Immediately hit that. Go for it. No, you don't want to do that now because of this. Yeah, you bring an attack on that. Yeah, I mean, it just gets insane. I mean, look at this. You know, 1% is coming. It's just all this stuff is just going to open. It's just going to get shredded. So let's just play it through a little bit. What do you want to play? I like doing this with Adventure, by the way, just playing a game and choosing the player I want to make. Kind of cool. Alright, you want to attack that advanced pawn. So we bring it out. It's a dead equal game. Black's just taking the lead. Castle the king, so who's better? Who's better right now? I mean, if you play this against a human player, things start to get violent. These are engine moves, you know, just playing really defensively, you know, keeping all your pieces connected, related to each other. Beautiful play here by the engine. Just lovely. Castling queen side too. Yeah, just not caring about that bishop because it's a bad bishop. Yeah, just really nice play. Queen's undefended. So, attack it. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, the point is with the King's Gambit opening, it's always exciting, lots of nice open lines. Unlike the Perk defense, Perk defense is not going to lead to these kinds of games, but exciting if you want to try something different. Let's take a look at another option that white has got that I like to play, which is this, where you can, I'll show you two more. One is e4, and let's say he plays e5, and you hit e5, he comes out there. This is the Ruy Lopez. Really nice, and this is the this is the Berlin defense where black attacks that. It's very solid. This is a bit more open. Now, what do you do? Okay, you're supposed to come back, but what you make exciting games, you take the knight. So now he takes the knight. The best way to take back is with the pawn because that opens up this. And it opens up this here as well. Once that knight moves, the queen can come here. So you've always got to keep that in mind. Because now, if you do that, now if the knight moves, you've got check. Not check, but you've got a threat everywhere. There are lots of threats here. That's coming soon too. So you don't take it. You don't take that pawn. You get out of there. Oh, interesting. Didn't think you'd do that. Oh, because he's got to kind of hold that center. Interesting. That's an interesting queen move, isn't it? You don't often see a queen move like that. then white just wants to open up the barrels. And yeah, always remember that when you've got a knight here, you put a bishop there with it. And then you've got this stuff here, so that if a rook goes there, you've got a checkmate. That's a Pawn Morphy game. A really cool game. We should have a look at that game on Stockfish sometime. The most famous game in chess history, that game. Okay, so that's the Ruy Lopez. Why don't you give that a try if you want, as white? Why don't you try taking that knight? You're not supposed to. You're supposed to hang on to the bishop, and that stops black from developing the D pawn. But the thing I don't like about it is, yeah, exactly. You're going to get hit there. So yeah, okay, let's do it. And then I'll get back here. Now you've got this, which is still good. You've got that as a potential something or another, but it's, you know, easily parried with that. Yeah, and see, this is what I like about the opening. You're just opening up. You're just opening it up. You know, opening up the lines, getting your bishops out, and going for it. Sacrifice that bishop. Get this knight out there. Get the knight out there. Get the queen out, and then you've got that weak f7 target. By the way, that weak f7 point is always a target in the opening from a white's perspective. There's your target right there. That's the softest point on the board. That's what you aim for. That's with these openings, the King's Gambit, and with the Ruy Lopez, and with the Spanish-Italian game, we're going after this f7 point, and opening these lines up against it, giving the queen up. So those are decent plans. Okay, those are decent plans that you can look for. As white, if you want to try something else as white, there is the Trumkowski, which is kind of an interesting opening as well. So he plays either d5 or knight f6. Knight f6 is the best one to play as black, by the way, against d4. That's a nice opening. And then, yeah, I mean, that's what the world champions have been playing for the last 50 years. But what we do in the Trumkowski is come here. And then it scares the crap out of his knight. It scares that pawn still. That pawn's going, ah, get me out of here, man. No, don't get me out of here. I'm saying, yeah. So he doesn't quite know what the hell to do. Yeah. So, what does he do? Okay, well, let's just go here. And then what you can do is that. Smash. You open this up. Now he's got doubled pawns. Yeah, not good for black right now. It's equal according to the engine. Fine, that's an engine thing. But a human might not have faced this before, so you might strike fear, which is what you want to go for. So here, there, and then what's he doing here? He wants to develop this to there, or maybe he wants to develop it to there. Yeah, so what do? Now you play, I guess, yeah, let's do this. Sounds good. And then he's gonna, yeah, let's make it exciting. These kind of positional pawn moves, blocking it up like that, that's a different style of play. And yeah, if you want to play that style, it's fine. I like it too. But yeah, let's sometimes go for an open game. Now it's open, and you've got something happening that's going to be dramatic. But when you've got dramatic, you've also got to watch for blunders. So you can see these edging moves right now. He castles because he's got nothing better to do. But yeah, why would he? You know, this is, you know. Exciting game, interesting game, lots of possibilities. Alright. Trumkowski. Trumkowski is when you bring the bishop, when you play d4, and then you bring the bishop there, getting that knight. Similar to the Ruy Lopez that we were looking at before with that. And then, yeah, you don't normally take the knight. You don't normally take bishop. You don't normally take knights with bishops. But with the Trumkowski, it's always a threat. And you watch how your opponents react to that. They won't know what to do. So they'll try, I don't know what they'll try. D5 obviously is the best move, but let's say they try that. Now you take it, and then his pawns are really smashed. Lots of weaknesses around this position. You can attack it. That's the idea. But you've got to be careful now because your dark squares are weak. It's called the dark square complex. Your dark square complex is now quite weak because you don't have the dark square bishop. So you've got to stabilize the dark squares. How you do that? Right, so that's strategy. Strategy, you always think of strategy as with your pawns. Pawns dictate strategy. Strategy is whether it's an open game, that means that your pawns are leaving and flying off the board, or it's a closed game. Closed games are more positional. The pawns, a lot of pawns are still on the board. There's not a lot of pawn movement. There's chains, pawn chains. You want to keep them together. As the opponent, you want to look for weaknesses. You want to look for creating doubled pawns or isolating the pawns so that there's no pawn on either side, and then that becomes a weakness. If that one disappears and that one disappears, that one becomes weak. If you've got a weak isolated pawn, then what the idea is you want to push it, or you want to use it as a defender for something else. Okay, so that's strategy. That's the meaning of strategy in the game. It's normally related to pawns. Tactics is something else, and tactics is what comes out of the King's Gambit, accepted especially. All right, so those are a couple of openings there from a white perspective. We'll look at black in another video. But if you're looking at the perk defense right now, then just focus on that for a bit. There was one more thing. It's this one. Play e4 if he hits you back with c5. c5 is very aggressive. Okay, that means that black wants a fight. He's normally not going to be going for a draw. He wants to bring it. So interesting. He wants to bring it. You can bring it too. This is called the wing gambit. So you play on the wings. And now, if he gets pulled, you suck him out to the wings. So now he gets pulled out, and look at his pawn structure now. It's not good. And this is also kind of not good. You've got 3 against his 2. That's kind of the concept. So then you can bring him out even further. Obviously, if he takes, then you've got that. So now he can't move that anymore. Otherwise, he'll lose that bishop, and then he won't build a castle. And you've developed your bishop into a really nice bargain. Okay, so that's the idea there behind the wing gambit. You can try that for some exciting games. If you also want exciting games, I mean, that would be interesting. Why don't you try playing black really defensive positionally with that perk thing, and playing white really aggressively, open boards, attacking, have different styles on the different sides of the board. So another one is this will be the last one. What was it? So here, there, now, takes. I can't remember what I was thinking about. No, that's it. So you got the King's Gambit. Oh, that's what it was. Here, 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 here. Now what do you play? To open up the position, what do you play? B4. That is a cool move. Now you should accept it. It's bad manners, it's rude to not accept that pawn as black. You have to accept it, just on pure protocol. So there, now, what do you do next? Now you now you go here. There's another variation rule of this. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, I don't normally play it, but I have seen it a few times, and it's just freaking awesome. You sacrifice all of these pawns in order to get the bishops out. So you've got that's what it is. No, but Stockfish is throwing me for a loop here. What you do is you bring that bishop here. So now you've got these two bishops. And you're there. Yeah, there you go. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. All of it gets crazy. It's getting mad. It's getting freaking mad. Look at this madness on the board. that was insane. Did you see this? Oh, this is just getting crazy. Look at this violence. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I'm not giving the computer any time to think. Violence. Look at that. Beautiful. And this is a chess game. Yeah, give us a second. No, thanks. Maybe. Okay, nice. Alright. So that's it for the wide openings. Let's stop there for now. And I'll record an analysis of that game that was played recently with Rock Ranger.